Hi there! For the past few years I've been doodling stuff on my whiteboard. These little drawings are like reminders for myself about stuff that I learned about my life, and I thought it would be fun to share them with you, and remake these doodles as actual big drawings. Today I'm recreating the very first doodle I ever made on this whiteboard. It's called Playground. Like, this is one of the few ones that actually has like a big title. Some of them are just words on a whiteboard, and some of them are like actual like drawings, you know. Like some of them are more complex. So this one I really wanted to go all out with it because it's a big full drawing, and it's one of my favorite locations in any video game ever. Like, it's Bob-Omb Battlefield from Mario 64. Now, these doodles are related to mental health and things I learned in my life, and this sounds weird because I'm not that old. I'm not like an ancient person. I'm not 90. I haven't experienced everything there is, but there are things that I have learned along the way, and I really want to share them with you. And one particular one that kind of started this all was this Playground, and it has to do with the fact that life is kind of like a 3D platformer level. My god, I sound like such a flipping nerd, but come on. It's just bear with me here, bear with me. It's kind of like a 3D platformer level, as in you have a lot of space. It's not linear, you know, everybody takes a different path to the destination. And I guess if you want to get existential about it, the destination is death, like the end of life. But everybody has a different path that they walk, and you get to decide where you go. You get to choose what you interact with. And just that very feeling that I had when I drew this, of realizing that I had some control over my life at all, and that I could make things easier for myself or harder for myself, or I can take a fun route or a more difficult route, and that's completely up to me. And that's something that really clicked with me, and that's why I wanted to draw this. I think this came very shortly after the realization that most adults don't know what they're doing. I think I was about, it must have been like 16 or 17 at the time. It's still on my whiteboard, gosh dang, I'm amazed that it hasn't been like smudged or anything. It's still on there, like clear as day. It's very nice. If you're a kid and you're watching this, or if you're like a young adult, or even maybe if you're older than me and you still haven't quite realized it yet, most people don't know what they're doing. They have no idea. Like, on a daily basis, me now as somebody like in their late 20s, just figuring stuff out every day, like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing most of the time. Like, even with things that I had like an education in, or that I do daily for a living, I'm just kind of messing around. I'm just kind of doing things, you know? And that realization that I had, like, first of all, it removes so much pressure. You may think that all these confident people who are older than you or more talented than you, which is completely subjective, by the way. You may think that they have their life together and they know what they're doing and they are confident in every decision they make, but God, no, that is just not the case. It couldn't be farther from the truth. And I think learning that and treating life as more of a playground, it's just a way to make things easier for yourself. Now, I'm a person who is very anxious in daily life. I have a lot of worries about things. I get constant like thoughts about like, oh, but what if this goes wrong? What if I have to do that? Oh, am I working hard enough? All those kinds of things, you know? It's not a healthy outlook. I have to remind myself that it's okay to just kind of mess around and just take your time with things. Like, even with this drawing, you might see it in the speed draw, I was struggling at some points. And I have drawn things like this like 100 times, thousands of times actually. I've made so many drawings. But each and every time I still have to kind of figure out what I want to do with it. And sometimes you can be structured, you can prepare for things, but sometimes you also just have to kind of go and do things and just mess around and see what happens, you know? And based on that, you get like new input and inspiration, and you can use that for, I don't know, make something like this, I guess, if you want it. And that's also the thing, like, you get to decide what you want to make and what you don't want to make. For such a long time in my life, I really felt like I was just doing things out of obligation. It puts so much pressure on you, you know? It gives you like guilt when you don't do it. Like, for example, I went into, I actually studied biology. Microbiology in a lab. It was crazy. It was super interesting to me because I like the subject of biology and cells and oh, it's so cool. Like, where does life come from and how does it all work? But the thing is, it didn't make me happy. It made me absolutely miserable to stand in a lab all day. It was lonely. It was confusing. It was just overwhelming in many ways. And after realizing that, things got worse. I just realized that I was actually miserable and I couldn't do this thing that I was sure people expected of me, because I'm like, I don't want to say I'm smart, but I'm if I focus on some things, I can do them pretty well. But yeah, because my parents were paying for my education and I had the skills to do things on like a level that can actually help people, I felt like I really needed to do this. I felt like this was my responsibility. I felt like I had no other choice but to go in this direction in life and just be miserable while doing it. I was also just not looking after myself well. I was not allowing myself to do fun things. It was just bad. It was very bad. I thought I had to do this stuff and that there was no other way. But you know, it's not true. It's if it makes you miserable, you're not helping the world. You're just gonna end up hurting yourself even more and just living up to any like weird potential or ideas that you may have for yourself. You gotta put yourself first sometimes. And it feels weird because you may have like morals that tell you that it's good to help others. And that's good. That's definitely hold on to that. But you can't help anybody if you're just struggling every single day and just feeling miserable and you want to die and all that stuff, you know? Like, it's not... Without going into specifics, yeah, things can get really bad. And it's okay to struggle with that. And it's okay to not feel good all the time. But you can't keep doing that to yourself. It's just not fair to anyone. Not to you, not to the world. You're not helping anybody by struggling and just... punishing yourself over things that you don't need to do. Anyway, so why did I choose Bob-Omb Battlefield? I touched upon it briefly. It's this cool level from Mario 64. It's the first one. You get to experiment, run around, do your own thing, and everybody takes a different route to the finish line. Everybody can just, like, if you really want to, you can just mess around in the lower areas for as long as you like, or you can just launch yourself off a cliff or from a cannon or whatever you want. It has like a certain feeling of freedom, and that's something that no other genre of video game really gives me. So that's why I wanted to specifically draw Bob-Omb Battlefield for this. Now, to add some nuance to the stuff I said earlier about your, like, finding out you have some control over your life and where it all goes, and whether you want to make things hard for yourself or easier for yourself. There's, of course, other factors that play too, like money or being stuck in some abusive situation. That's definitely gonna limit the control that you have over your life. And it's always good to look for the areas that you do have some control over, because you need some control or you're gonna be miserable, I think. Definitely what helped me is to finally move out and just live on my own, and realizing that I didn't know a lot of things. I didn't know how to live on my own. God, no, it was incredibly overwhelming and difficult. But I just took it one thing at a time, and that's how you have to do it, and you have to try. You have to try. That's the thing. And because it gives you so much, like living on your own, just like the freedom of it. Because if you were in some kind of like abusive situation, you know, you're gonna realize that you have a lot more freedom and ability to do stuff that you want than you think. And another thing about like treating life more as some kind of like playgrounds, or just realizing that you have that kind of freedom, it also involves being able to reach out for help. If you think that you have no control, or if you think that things cannot get better ever, because you're always feeling guilty and you can't do the stuff you want, you're not gonna be likely to reach out for help. And that's crazy, because, you know, everybody needs help sometimes. And if you want, like, even if it's just like talking to a friend, or if it's like just getting therapy or other stuff, it's very important that you realize that those things can definitely help you. You might not find the right help at first, but also it's so important. Like, it's your life. You get to shape it. You get to give it some kind of form. It's so very important for you to know that you can have some control over your life and how it's gonna look like. Whether you're young or old, you still have so much control over that. Now, this is the sort of critical part of my brain, or just very perfectionist part of my brain, but I want to point out that it's not exactly Bob-Omb Battlefield. This is sort of what it looked like in my mind, from memory. Also, I like the DS version more, so I base the colors more on what those look like in my brain. I specifically didn't look up reference for this. I like looking up reference for art. It's something I would definitely recommend very often if you're just drawing like a post or like clothing or other stuff. But I also like drawing without reference sometimes, and this is definitely one of those cases, because it definitely just gives you the impression straight from your brain onto the paper, or in this case a whiteboard, and then a digital canvas. I would not have drawn it like this if I had actually looked up reference. Like, there's the silhouette at the start of the character running up to like this big ramp, which is way smaller in the actual game. And then there's like the chain jump up there that you can probably not even see from the start, but I wanted to have it there because I feel like it's such an important landmark-ish thing, you know? And there's a floating island, which is definitely not in the exact place where it should be. And there's the mountain, which looks way bigger, I think. I did that on purpose because these are things that stood out to me. and they stood out to me in this particular way, and that's why I drew them this way. So without looking up reference, I get a very quick impression of, well, the impression that the level gave me. And I think that's fun to do, and especially with sort of an expressive drawing like this, which is about the feeling that it conveys to the person looking at it. I just like to draw without reference sometimes. It can really be helpful. Alright, well that's enough of my ramblings. I just wanted to talk over the speed draw for this, give you some explanation, some perspective, and I hope that was interesting. I have done some talks about like mental health stuff and just personal experiences on my streams. I like to do art streams every now and then and interact with viewers and whatnot, and it's really fun, but also every now and then you get real, you know? Like somebody mentions something and you're like, huh, I actually want to talk about that, about my own perspective on it, and I think it might give some perspective, it might help, you know? Like that's what I really hope to get out of this, that somebody thinks, oh yeah, I hadn't considered it this way, or huh, I hadn't looked at Bob-Omb Battlefield this way, or something like that, you know? And that's why I'm making this. And I hope it's interesting, I hope it's useful. It's a different kind of format than what I usually do. I try to be less perfectionist about it. And if you ever want to stop by my art streams and talk about stuff, it's usually not the place to talk about mental health things. You can do that in the comments of this if you had any realizations while watching this, or if you have other perspectives from your own life. Then feel free to share them. I would love to hear them. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. And I could do more of these in the future. If you're interested, then please do let me know. I would love to hear that. I have plenty more doodles from my whiteboards that all have different stories and things behind them. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day. And hang in there. If you're struggling, if you're doing well, then happy for you. How else can I stretch this outro even longer? I'm just gonna say, I hope you have a great day. And yeah, see you later.